Our first-round opponent is the Su clan. Gu Mengqi raised her head, glancing in the direction connected by the light talisman. Her eyes flickered slightly as she spoke softly. Good thing we didn't face the Wei clan right away, Gu Yin sighed in relief. Among the 4 major families, the Wei clan was clearly the strongest. Facing them in the first round would undoubtedly take a toll on their side. We'll have to face them eventually, Lin Dong remarked indifferently. Gu Yan's desire to avoid them seemed a bit like wishful thinking. Gu Mengqi nodded, extending her slender hand. The light talisman in her palm split into 3, and she handed 2 of them to Lin Dong and Gu Yin, saying, "You two should draw as well. This will randomly decide your opponents." Gu Yin was the first to reach out and grab a talisman. As soon as it touched her hand, a beam of light shot from its tip, connecting her to a tall man from the Su clan. That's Su Tai from the Su clan. Gu Yan's eyebrows furrowed slightly as she gazed at him, clearly familiar with him. Your turn, Lin Dong. Gu Mengqi glanced at Gu Yan's opponent and frowned slightly before offering Lin Dong a smile. Lin Dong nodded and took a light talisman. As it extended its beam of light, it connected to a thin and rather ordinary-looking man, instantly attracting the attention of the surrounding crowd. Whispers quickly spread. That guy doesn't seem like someone from the Gu clan. Probably an outside helper. But why does he look so unfamiliar? Judging by his aura, he seems to have reached the life mystique stage, though it looks like he only recently broke through. With that strength, can he really match up against Su Yin? TSK, the Gu clan might be in trouble this time. Su Tai is second only to Su Yin among the younger generation of the Su clan, but Gu Yin only just reached the life mystique stage. Yeah, looks like 2 out of 3 matches are already looking bad for the Gu clan. They're in real danger. Amid the murmurs, many worried glances were cast towards the Gu clan. Though the matchups were random, it seemed rather unlucky for them. Is this draw really that bad for us? Lin Dong asked, tilting his head toward Gu Mengqi. If you're only as strong as you seem on the surface, then yes, it's not looking good, Gu Mengqi smiled, glancing at Su Yin from the Su clan before continuing. You've been matched against the strongest of the Su clan's younger generation, while I'm up against their weakest. As for Gu Yin, well, she's in some trouble. Su Tai has been in the life mystique stage for quite some time, so she's at a disadvantage. The outcome of this round rests on your match with Su Yin. Whoever wins between you two will determine which family advances to the next round. Basically, it's the strongest versus the strongest, the middle ranked against the lowest, and the weakest against the middle. It's a pretty even split, but Gu Mengqi's voice trailed off as her gaze locked onto Lin Dong. That's assuming your real strength is far beyond what it seems. If you lose to Su Yin, then we're done for. Although they had some understanding of Lin Dong's abilities from his encounters with Imotao and Gu Yun, no one had seen him truly fight. So, it remained uncertain whether he could hold his own against Su Yin, the Su clan's most formidable young warrior. Lin Dong nodded silently, offering no further comment. He knew that once the battle began, all doubts would naturally be put to rest. Words meant little right now. Let's head to the arena. Seeing this, Gu Mengqi stopped talking and gracefully leaped down toward one of the spacious platforms below. Lin Dong, we're counting on you. Gu Yin gave him a helpless smile before following suit, aware that her chances of victory were slim. Lin Dong watched the 2 women's retreating figures, shrugged, and then leapt onto his assigned platform. His gaze immediately locked onto Su Yin. At that moment, Su Yin also turned his gaze toward Lin Dong. A faint smile appeared on his sharp, thin face. With a flick of his toes, the sound of air splitting echoed, and he landed lightly in the arena opposite Lin Dong. High above, an elder from the Shinto family scanned the field with sharp eyes before saying calmly, "Since everyone is in position, the matches will now begin. Just remember, fists and feet have no eyes. Any injuries are your own responsibility." Boom. As his voice faded, torrents of primordial energy surged from the other 2 arenas, where battles had already erupted. Countless eyes shifted toward the 3 arenas, with particular attention falling on the 3rd. There, the 2 combatants hadn't made a move yet. Su Yin of the Su clan. Su Yin glanced briefly at the other 2 battles before smiling faintly at Lin Dong and cupping his fists in greeting. Lin Dong. Lin Dong returned the gesture with a smile. He knew Su Yin was deliberately waiting for the other battles to conclude, though their outcomes were probably already expected. "It seems you're not from the Celestial Windsea region?" Su Yin asked. "The region is vast. Surely Su Yin doesn't know everyone?" Lin Dong replied with a grin. "Haha, true enough." Su Yin laughed softly, but his gaze sharpened. Lin Dong nodded slightly. He understood that if Gu Yin lost and Gu Mingqi won, each side would have one victory, and the winner between him and Su Yin would decide which family could advance to the next round. "Well then, I apologize in advance. I'm going to win this match," Su Yin said with a smile. Lin Dong shook his head, smiling. Su Yin was straightforward, with no need for pretense. However, Lin Dong also needed to win this match. Otherwise, he wouldn't get a share of the primordial wilderness tower. After Su Yin's declaration, he said no more, standing with his hands behind his back, quietly waiting for the other two battles in the square to conclude. Lin Dong, too, remained still, eyes half closed, serene and composed. Under this strange standoff, time passed quickly, and the battles on the other two platforms were nearing their conclusion. Bang! Bang! Two dull sounds echoed almost simultaneously, and the crowd watched as two figures were sent flying from their platforms in disarray. Immediately, murmurs spread throughout the audience. Gu Clan, Gu Mengqi wins. Su Clan, Su Tai wins. The elder floating in midair waved his sleeve, and a deep voice resounded in everyone's ears. Swish! Swish! As soon as his voice fell, almost all eyes turned toward the two figures on the third platform who had yet to make a move. Gu Mengqi led the slightly pale-faced Gu Yin back to their clan's seats. Her beautiful eyes, filled with tension, focused on the thin figure not far away. "Sister Mengqi, I'm sorry," Gu Yin said bitterly. Gu Mengqi shook her head, her gaze fixed ahead. "We haven't lost yet. Now, we'll see if Lin Dong truly has the strength he claims." Amid the murmurs and countless gazes, Su Yin smiled faintly. Slowly, he drew his hands from his sleeves, his palms dark gray, emanating a sharp energy. "Brother Lin Dong, I won't hold back. Be careful." Lin Dong slowly opened his eyes, which had been slightly closed. He looked at Su Yin, then extended his hand. "Let's begin." Vast waves of primordial energy surged across the spacious platform, filling the air with a deep hum that resonated in the hearts of the onlookers. The two locked eyes, their gazes sharpening, as the tension in the air thickened. Boom! The standoff lasted only a moment. Su Yan's eyes flashed coldly, and with a stomp, his figure left an afterimage as he disappeared, moving so quickly that ordinary people couldn't track him with the naked eye. Primordial energy surged around Lin Dong, his eyes narrowing as Su Yin vanished. In a swift motion, Lin Dong's body tilted sharply. Bang! A dark gray hand, brimming with fierce energy, grazed past Lin Dong's ear. The force was so intense that the air exploded with a low, rumbling sound. Whoosh! As the attack narrowly missed, Lin Dong's right hand shot out like lightning, grabbing Su Yan's wrist. His shoulder tilted, and with a violent surge of power, he flung Su Yin backward, sending him crashing toward the ground. Crack! Just as Su Yan's head was about to hit the ground, his dark gray hand struck down, shattering the floor beneath him. Using the force, he spun his body, and his legs swung like meteors, slashing toward Lin Dong's brow. Bang! Lin Dong's expression didn't change. He clenched his fist and punched forward, meeting Su Yan's foot. The force of his strike dissipated Su Yan's powerful leg attack. At the same time, Lin Dong's right leg shot out, like a sharp blade, aiming directly at Su Yan's throat. Thud! Just as Lin Dong's kick was about to connect, Su Yan's elbow twisted in an odd angle, blocking the attack. But even so, the force of Lin Dong's blow sent Su Yin flying backward. He tapped his foot in midair, suspending himself in the air. By now, a solemn expression had settled on Su Yan's face. Around the square, murmurs of admiration spread. The earlier exchange between the two had been a brutal close-quarters fight, with both aiming for lethal blows. Observers with sharp eyes could tell that both Lin Dong and Su Yin had extensive battle experience and were ruthless in their execution. showing no hesitation. This clash truly felt like a meeting of equals. Phew. At the Gu clan's seats, those who had been anxiously watching the fight let out a sigh of relief. From the looks of it, Lindong indeed had some skill. Decisive strikes and a fierce aura. Gu Yuntian, his face pale, nodded in approval. His strength was on par with Su Yan's, and seeing Lindong able to hold his own against Su Yan reassured him. Lindong had the qualifications to represent him. However, it's still too early to determine the outcome, Gu Mingqi said softly from the side. Gu Yuntian nodded. He knew that the battle had just begun, and Su Yan hadn't yet revealed his true strength. So, at this point, no one could say who would win. Hee, brother Lindong, to be invited by the Gu clan as an ally. Your strength is indeed impressive, Su Yan said, floating in midair, his gaze on Lindong below. Though his expression was serious, a smile played on his lips. Brother Su Yan is no slouch either. Lindong's hand slowly clenched. Su Yan's strength was not only a cut above Mo Tao's, but was also comparable to Yuan Song when he had activated his spirit seal. However, Lindong had grown much stronger since his fight with Yuan Dong. Su Yan smiled as he slowly extended his hands, where dark gray light began to flow, exuding an aura of foreboding danger. Black Demon Hand, he whispered. The words barely left Su Yan's lips before a powerful torrent of dark gray light erupted from his palms, rapidly condensing into what resembled a layer of keratin, cloaking his hands in a particularly ominous manner. Crack, crack. Layer upon layer of bizarre keratin covered Su Yan's hands, from which razor-sharp bone spurs emerged, transforming them into fearsome weapons resembling the claws of a demon. Swish. The dark gray light settled, a wisp of gray air fleeting across Su Yan's face. In a ghostly flash, he appeared right in front of Lindong, launching a straightforward, yet ferocious punch. Boom! A massive surge of primordial energy accompanied the punch, like a crashing wave with piercing wails resembling ghostly howls, unnerving those who heard it. Feeling the force behind Su Yan's attack, Lindong's gaze sharpened. With a grip of his hand, a gigantic black tree trunk appeared. Swinging his arm fiercely, he collided head-on with Su Yan's strike. Clang! Sparks and a metallic clang erupted where they met, a visible shockwave of intense power rippling outwards, splitting the ground beneath into a web of cracks. Boom! Despite Su Yan's aggressive assault, Lindong managed to block it, causing Su Yan to frown slightly. Unyielding, Su Yan pressed forward, his fists tearing through the air with relentless and domineering force, raining down on Lindong like a tempest. Yet, Lindong showed no intention of evading the onslaught. He understood well that both were seasoned fighters. In this clash, losing momentum meant falling into the opponent's grip. Thus, as the barrage-like onslaught descended, the black tree in Lindong's hand transformed into a storm, infused with vast primordial energy. Black light flared from its trunk, matching Su Yan's punch impacts blow for blow. Clang, clang, clang. The resounding clatter of metal on metal echoed continuously, reminiscent of fireworks, as the two figures clashed amidst the blasting gales, an intimidating sight to behold. Bang! Another fierce collision forced Lindong and Su Yan to stumble back several steps, the ground beneath them crumbling into dust upon impact. Swish! Barely steadying himself, Su Yan lunged forward again. Dark gray light surged from his hands as he shouted, "Black Demon Hand! Corrode!" With a deep growl, Su Yan launched another punch. The overwhelming gray light roared, piercing through the void with mind-bending corrosive power, hurtling towards Lindong. Great Wilderness Celestial Prison Hand. In response, Lindong struck out with his palm, a suffocatingly desolate aura emanating as the surrounding void crumbled. A colossal palm imprint, spanning 100 feet, descended with wrath, crashing down onto the streak of gray light. Boom! Brilliant light erupted across the scene, the ensuing shockwave carving massive furrows throughout the open square. Dust rose from the ground, slightly obscuring vision. As the dust settled, Su Yan's pupils constricted at the sight of Lindong's slim but steadfast figure still standing upright in the distance. You still aren't done for after all of that? Su Yin muttered to himself, his lips pressed tightly together. Despite unleashing such a fierce offensive, Lin Dong remained largely unharmed, a testament to his underestimated strength. What a troublesome adversary. It seems only a full effort will suffice, Su Yin sighed, fixing his gaze on Lin Dong. He pressed his fingers together, scarlet blood dripping from his fingertips, tracing across his body to form an eerie blood-red sigil. No way. Gently biting her lip, Gu Mengqi watched this development with narrowed eyes, clenching her fists instinctively. In a gravelly voice, Su Yin murmured, as the blood-red sigil on his body exploded into radiant crimson light and his body started to writhe and distort. Black Fiend Immortal Body. The immense red light unfurled across the square, revealing Su Yan's body, shifting and swelling grotesquely within this sanguine glow. Rip, rip. The sound of muscles tearing and rapidly reforming was disturbingly shrill in the square. Yet those familiar with Su Yin were tense with foreboding, clearly wary of this transformation. It really is the Black Fiend Immortal Body, whispered Gu Mengqi, her teeth lightly grazing her lip as she watched Su Yan's grotesque transformation. This body technique, said to be created by the ancient Elder Black Fiend, not only enhances one's physical prowess but exponentially boosts regenerative capabilities, rendering the user virtually indestructible in combat, explained Gu Yuntian with grave concern. Looks like Lin Dong is in for a grueling fight, noted someone from the Gu clan, their faces etched with worry as they focused on the battle, knowing the outcome could determine if their clan advanced to the next round. So this is Su Yan's famed legacy technique. Witnessing it firsthand is something, mused Wei Zhen, squinting as he observed the scene unfolding in the square. It is something extraordinary, agreed Chen Luo, standing next to Wei Zhen, his gaze also fixed on the figure bathed in crimson light. Su Yin truly lives up to his reputation as the strongest of the young generation in the Su family. This Black Fiend Immortal Body would undoubtedly give even me a tough challenge. Seems I overestimated that kid thinking he could advance further, Wei Zhen acknowledged with a nod. But no matter. Once he loses here and falls out of favor with the Gu family, we can deal with him at our leisure. Chen Luo gave a cold smile, hands clasped behind his back as he watched intently. Boom. The surging crimson light that filled the arena suddenly exploded outward like a storm, accompanied by a deep, raspy roar that echoed through the air. As the light gradually dissipated, a towering shadow, over 10 meters tall, appeared in the center of the field. The figure's entire body was a dark crimson hue, covered in a thick, armor-like layer of red scales that shimmered with a faint, eerie glow. From its back extended a pair of bat-like wings, their edges lined with sharp, dark red bone spurs. At that moment, Su Yin stood there, looking like a fearsome demon fiend that had stepped out of ancient times, exuding an overwhelming, savage aura. His presence was menacing and fierce, filling the air with a violent killing intent. Lin Dong's gaze narrowed slightly as he observed the transformation Su Yin had undergone. So this is the Black Fiend Immortal Body, he thought. It seems to be a formidable physical refinement martial art. I told you, I'm going to win this fight. Su Yan's eyes were now filled with a bloodthirsty crimson light. He slowly clenched his fists, feeling the terrifying, almost explosive power surging within him. A desire for slaughter rose from the depths of his heart. His gaze locked onto Lin Dong in the distance, and a cruel grin crept onto his face. Whoosh! Just as his words fell, his bat-like wings suddenly flapped, creating a violent gust of wind that swept through the arena. As the wind howled, Lin Dong's pupils shrank slightly, and he instinctively crossed his arms in front of him, as a burst of azure light flared up around him. Bang! Su Yan's massive body moved with lightning speed, appearing in front of Lin Dong almost instantaneously. His enormous, crimson-scaled fist, wrapped in a dark red carapace, slammed down onto Lin Dong's crossed arms with tremendous force. The impact unleashed a torrent of violent power. The ground beneath Lin Dong's feet crumbled instantly, turning to dust from the sheer force. Thud! Lin Dong's body was sent flying by the enormous impact, but he quickly twisted in midair, slamming his palm backward to shatter the air and disperse the terrifying energy. As he regained his stance, his gaze swept over his arms, where sharp pain radiated. His eyes grew more focused. Su Yan's black fiend immortal body was indeed formidable. It seems you've practiced physical refinement martial arts too, to withstand a punch from me, Su Yan exclaimed, surprised that Lin Dong, despite being blasted away, had not suffered significant injuries. If it were anyone else, even someone at minor completion of the life mystique stage, I'd have broken their arms with that strike. But how many of these blows can you take? Su Yan grinned, his voice brimming with the confidence of overwhelming strength. He had become a living embodiment of power, with enough strength in every movement to shatter mountains. Ha! Lin Dong brushed his hand over his arms where Su Yan had struck. He exhaled softly and then raised his head, a calm smile emerging on his face. Your body and strength are indeed impressive, but at that moment, a brilliant azure light erupted from Lin Dong's body, and his voice echoed throughout the arena. But you've chosen the wrong opponent. Boom. The radiant azure light surged out violently, and a clear, resounding dragon's roar echoed across the sky. Under the astonished gazes of the onlookers, a massive figure began to take shape within the light. As the azure glow dissipated, the crowd gasped audibly. Before their eyes was a colossal, azure dragon, its body stretching over 100 meters long. The sheer power radiating from its form was enough to make everyone's eyes widen in disbelief. A dragon? Shocked whispers filled the air, accompanied by gasps of astonishment. Countless eyes were fixed on the giant azure dragon coiled in the sky, its intimidating draconic aura causing even the most seasoned warriors to tense up. It's not a real dragon. This is a special physical refinement martial art that allows one to cultivate a body resembling that of a dragon, Gu Yuntian said, his eyes narrowing in focus as he observed the spectacle. This Lin Dong, he's no ordinary person. Gu Mingqi nodded slowly, her beautiful eyes fixated on the massive dragon in the sky. Its sinewy, powerful form was a picture of perfection, its azure scales gleaming like gemstones in the light. A martial art that grants a human a dragon-like body? Su Yan's blood-red eyes stared at the massive figure in the sky, his heart trembling slightly. He could feel an overwhelming sense of danger emanating from Lin Dong. Under the dragon's cold, azure gaze, the violent power within Su Yan seemed to waver, as if being suppressed. I want to see whose body is stronger, your azure dragon body or my black fiend immortal body. Su Yan's eyes flashed with determination, and then, with a roar, crimson light exploded around him. His bat wings flared, and his body transformed into a streak of blinding dark red light. The light streaked through the sky like a curved, blood-red blade, leaving a tear in space itself as it hurtled towards the massive dragon above. Black Fiend Slash. The dark red blade tore through the sky, accompanied by a deep, guttural roar as it slashed toward the azure dragon. In the sky, the azure dragon calmly gazed down at the incoming attack, its draconic eyes indifferent, like a god looking down on an insignificant insect. Azure Dragon Celestial Seal. The massive dragon's claw extended, and an overwhelming azure light burst forth. Within the light, a dragon-shaped seal materialized, radiating an ancient and awe-inspiring power. Boom! The dragon's claw descended, meeting Su Yan's dark red blade in mid-air. In that instant, time seemed to stand still, as the entire battlefield fell into a moment of complete silence. As Lin Dong watched Su Yan being helped away, he turned and headed back to the Gu clan's seating area. Upon his return, the Gu clan disciples immediately stepped aside, their gazes now filled with admiration. Any doubts they had before had completely vanished like smoke in the wind. Brother Lin Dong, thank you for your hard work, Gu Mingqi said with a gentle smile, her graceful demeanor adding to her charm. Lin Dong smiled back, then glanced toward the bustling arena. Next up should be the match between the Wei clan and the Song clan, right? Yes, Gu Mingqi nodded. But the Wei clan is strong. I doubt the Song clan will pose much of a challenge. If the Wei clan wins, we'll be facing them in the next round. Hearing this, Lin Dong's gaze naturally shifted toward the Wei clan, where he spotted Wei Zhan and Chen Luo staring at him with amused, almost mocking expressions. Those two will be tough to deal with, Lin Dong murmured to himself. He could sense that both Wei Zhan and Chen Luo were even stronger than Su Yin, and both had the potential to reach the great completion of the life mystique stage within the next year or two. Beside him, Gu Mengqi sighed with a bitter smile. If Gu Yuntian could compete, along with Lin Dong, they wouldn't fear the Wei clan at all. But as things stood, even though Lin Dong had shown remarkable strength, the outcome was still uncertain. As Lin Dong's battle with Su Yin concluded, the elder from the Shentu clan announced the start of the next round, Wei clan versus Song clan. The clash between the two clans, though impressive, held little surprise. Faced with the formidable strength of Wei Zhan and Chen Luo, the Song clan struggled. Aside from Song Tai, who managed to hold his ground against Wei Zhan for a few dozen exchanges before finally being defeated, the other two matches ended in complete losses. The 3-0 victory caused quite a stir among the crowd and allowed the Wei clan to smoothly advance to the next round. When the elder from the Shentu clan announced the results, Lin Dong felt two piercing gazes fixed on him. He looked up and met the eyes of Wei Zhan and Chen Luo from across the arena. In their eyes, Lin Dong could sense a deep challenge and hostility. Lin Dong remained calm, his long fingers slowly interlocking as his gaze briefly shifted to Gu Mengqi and Gu Yin, both looking worried beside him.